We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. A reminder, we have 3 class periods this week: Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Next week, because of the Memorial Day holiday, we will meet on 4 days: Tuesday, taking Memorial Day off, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, making up, as I indicated yesterday, for the day that we miss for Memorial Day. It will be the only Friday that we meet during the term. What I also wanted to reinforce is that video is an essential part of the learning process in this course. A lot of what we're going to be doing, guys, is looking at video presentations, whether they were produced on YouTube or on Loom, for the 4 presentations that you'll be putting together over the next month. Demonstrative, Thursday and Friday of next week, followed by informative, persuasive, and wildcard. And later on today, I'm going to show you some examples of the last 2 presentations, persuasive and wildcard. But because there are new people in the class, I wanted to give a quick primer before we get into the guts of the second half of the syllabus and point allocation as to how you can access material for the course. As I did during our first class period yesterday, what I'm going to do is to first go to the student preview mode of Blackboard, how you see the course once you enter. At this point, there has been an addition, because for all of you, if you're going to take online courses, you have to complete that online primer course. But for our benefit, I refresh this message daily, so whenever you initially go to Blackboard, you will always find it. Week of May 24th through the 26th. Some of you are going to be joining the class live. As you can see, because I have it noted in red, it is not a requirement to attend live. I appreciate the fact there's an audience, but it's not a requirement that you be here. We're here 15 minutes in advance. You can enter the course, but to view recorded archives, always remember, quote, find Tools on your menu, left side, and click Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Then you'll click 3 vertical white lines on the black sessions bar to open a recordings playlist. So you go over to Tools, find Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, and there is the listing of course sessions starting today, where we are right now, which is live, tomorrow, and then next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, from noon until a maximum time of 2 p.m. You click on the vertical lines, find recordings. There is the first class session from yesterday, Course Requirements, Part 1. How is that going to look whenever you play it back? Let me show you. What I often do early on during the term is to give you bits and pieces of what a class session looks like when it is accessible on video through Blackboard. So I have to make certain that I've got the correct link ready to go. So I click on the right one. I believe this is it. Here are bits and pieces from yesterday's class session when you watch it through Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. I'll scroll through. We have started to record the first session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session of 2022. Welcome. These 19 class sessions over the next month are going to go by very fast. Today is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. 22. I'd indicated for those of you who are joining me live, please don't ask a question during class, or make sure that your microphones are muted, primarily because so many people are going to be watching the videos afterwards. There's a lot of material that we're going to be covering over the first 2 class sessions, which are Course Requirements Part 1, which is today, and Course Requirements Part 2, which is tomorrow. For all of you, this is going to be a unique experience giving presentations by video for a public speaking course. And as the week goes on, I'll explain how you're going to be sending those to me. But for today and for tomorrow, sit back, relax, pay attention to the way that I want you to structure your presentations. Blackboard, my YouTube channel, and my website are going to be your best friends in that order. In a couple of minutes, I'll be going to my Blackboard version of this course in the student preview mode. So taking it step by step, how all of you are going to approach being a thoughtful, well-researched, extemporaneous, conversational public speaker. And it can be done. Concise oral communication. This book is not required for a course. So everything that you do is going to be available from my YouTube channel, from videos that you watch, and from the own materials that you provide for graded projects. That followed by grading policies and procedures with class attendance policy and excused absences of students. I should mention, I can check in Blackboard when everyone is accessing the course, because that's going to be part of your class participation grade. Build up to the presentations. I'm not the kind of person as a professor that gives you busy work. I want you to focus on 4 major projects, week by week, thinking about how you want to prepare your content, thinking about how you want to prepare your research and visuals, and how you're going to prepare the delivery. The pandemic hit in mid-March of 2020, and we immediately had to go offline. So the demonstrative speeches were all given in a face-to-face circumstance. It was a Monday night course, and then starting with the summer. Living with an anxiety disorder is informative. How to prepare for international travel, which is a demonstrative speech. This is the website for Loom. As you scroll through it, you'll notice that the nice part about this platform is that you can communicate, as the young lady is here, professionally on slides. For a public speaking course, I think this type of application is gold. Now, there are others in the marketplace, but for my benefit, if I were a student in this class, I would seriously consider using Loom.
Sort of dessert to bring somewhere. It's very simple. You see, 25 minutes, perfect amount of time for you to get ready while it's in the oven, and it's just an overall delicious dish. Even though some people are often skeptical, because egg custard sometimes doesn't sound the most appealing. It's very delicious, very not overbearing, and just a wonderful dessert. And it will definitely be a showstopper if you bring it somewhere. So I hope you enjoyed how to make an egg custard pie. I hope that you go out and make your own. And once again, my name is Beth Hervey, and have a great day.
When you're at the course, this is how you see it. Let me go out of the preview. This is how I see it as a professor. But I want everyone to know that I access material or want you to show the student preview exactly the way that it is going to show up on your screens, from a constructive, positive, not negative manner. With the glass half full, even though it's not. That's my attitude coming into this class, with the glass being half full. Some of you are going to be naturally nervous coming into a class like this. Well, I will try to allay those fears. I grade my classes and teach them from the standpoint of positive, constructive criticism. This is not easy, but the terms that you're going to learn from this course, the measurable skills that you're going to take from this course are going to be vital whenever you are communicating in any circumstance during your collegiate or professional careers. We will continue tomorrow with part 2 of course requirements with additional videos. Please make certain that you're watching all of these in real time on Blackboard. I strongly encourage you to watch them from beginning to end because you're going to be featured. All of the graded presentations that you give, whether they be on Loom or whether they be on YouTube, are going to be played during class. So what you send to my Yahoo email address should ideally be the best representation that you can produce for that graded speech. Working on a regular basis is very helpful. We will resume with class session 219 tomorrow. Good luck as we continue on during the term. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking during the first summer session of 2022, that concludes the recording session for today. So I wanted you to see bits and pieces as how you can access Blackboard videos for this course with the proviso. You guys are going to be the stars on those 8 graded presentation days for the 4 speeches. Everything that you do, and ideally it's going to be the best version of the video that you record, is going to be played in class. And you recall at the end of yesterday's session, I went to my Yahoo email address, which is prominently featured on my syllabus. That's where you're going to be sending me the documentation. And then I will be critiquing them to a certain degree during class, but as I indicated, I am more of the positive, constructive criticism type of person. There are elements that you'll need to work on in terms of content, delivery, and visuals, but we'll be talking about that tomorrow to a great degree whenever we take a close look at the SAU speech evaluation checklist. For the time being, however, let's go back to Blackboard in the student preview mode because, again, there are new people in the class today. In addition to watching the videos, as you can see, today is going to be course requirements, part 2. Then you can just return to the course, to the announcement, or you can go to instructor information, which is a link to the SAU Mass Communication website, which I showed you yesterday, or there is information for my business card. But realistically, the best way to contact me, as I've told you previously, is through my Yahoo email address or live after class if you're here, if you have any questions. Then you go to the course syllabus. For the new people, here is the syllabus itself, all 4 pages. The office hours and location, virtual, course time and location here, live on Blackboard, we provide assistance and answer questions. A lot of the data here is institutional or state mandated. For your benefit, really you need to understand a couple of things. Proper time management, highlighted, is essential to success in researching and writing course assignments. The semester grades are as follows: 90, 80, 70, 60, and so on. Supplemental instruction. From this point down, it is specifically my data that's course related. A link to my website, a link to my Twitter account. It is not a requirement to follow me on Twitter, but you can see some of the things that I'm doing, sending out information for projects. The electronic submission of assignments right here is absolutely crucial. Prof. James Reppert, SAU@yahoo.com. That's where you should communicate with me more than my SAU email address. And then the instructor comments are really important. The topics, teaching strategies, student assessment, student assignments, and the specific projects, and that comprises the bottom of the page. Demonstrative, informative, persuasive, wildcard speeches, each worth 20 points, the self-evaluation speech critique, which is worth 10 points, and class participation, which is also worth 10 points. So for today, now let's focus on the second half of the projects that you're going to be working on. The persuasive speech, which is worth 20 points, and the wildcard speech, which is also worth 20 points. But before we get to that, a friendly reminder that at the course syllabus, the speech evaluation form checklist will go into great detail tomorrow, but here's the course itinerary. What we're looking at this week. Today is course requirements part 2. Tomorrow is effective content, delivery, and visuals. Remember what I say, guys, in terms of time management, you want to build yourself up each week for the 4 major graded presentations. I still do not have an official listing as to what days people are going to speak because there were 4 people who were knocked off the roster yesterday. I'm not sure it's because they did not have sufficient payment or whether or not there were issues with completing the online primer course, but I'm going to wait until I have an official roster to find out exactly who is going to be speaking on which days. But realistically, half of you will always be speaking on day 1, half of you will always be speaking on day 2, so you need to work that into your schedules, and I'll try to figure that out tomorrow if we've got an official roster as to who is going to be speaking on which day. But for the time being, let's examine the schedule for next week. Tuesday is demonstrative speech research, where we'll be looking at outlines and videos. Wednesday of next week, demonstrative speech topic selection. We'll go to the website, look at more videos, and I will give you from past classes going back 2 to 3 years, different types of demonstrative speech topics. The easiest way to remember this is a demonstrative speech is a how-to. And on the website, there are tons. When you go through the video from yesterday, I scroll through the website, there are tons of demonstrative speech videos and demonstrative speech audios in addition to outlines. And that does not include another link that I'll be showing you tomorrow. And that does not also include some of the materials that are available on my YouTube channel, which I will be focusing on today. So just start thinking about how your first graded presentation, a demonstrative or how-to, 5 to 7 minutes, is going to be either Thursday of next week, which is June 2nd, or Friday of next week, June 3rd. And as long as I have them by class time and I can play them during class, you'll be fine in terms of meeting the requirement of having it done on time. Now let's go back to the syllabus, to page 4. A persuasive speech is something where you don't want to come across as self-righteous or heavy-handed, at least not in my class. Usually there are more than 2 sides to every argument, varying shades of gray, so to speak. So you can respect other people's positions while not necessarily giving them grief for not necessarily taking your side of view. Well, what do I mean by that? There are so many different topics that you could potentially use for persuasive speeches. Let me show you 2 different examples that have been produced over the past 2 years. We'll be playing, as I indicated at the outset, lots of videos just to give you an example of how you can prepare, what your persona is going to be like on camera, that symbiotic relationship between text or graphics and how you can use that text or graphics, manipulating in an ethical way those graphics to make certain that you remain extemporaneous and conversational throughout any of your presentations. You'll recall that during our first class session, I showed you an example of a demonstrative speech an egg custard pie, which we saw a little bit of here, and an informative speech, which was living with an anxiety disorder. Today, we're going to show you 2 persuasive speeches and 2 wildcard speeches. Let's go, first of all, to my YouTube channel. And if you want to go to my YouTube channel, it's available through a link from the SAU Mass Communication website. But once you have clicked on this particular listing for broadcast and speech projects, you eventually come down to spring 2020. This individual was the first person to ever use Loom, L-O-O-M. And I'll go back to that probably at the end of class today and possibly also tomorrow. But what is it like to put together a persuasive speech, the third of the 4 major graded presentations? Let's go ahead and watch from spring of 2020.
Everyone.
And I will set this up in just a moment. We'll make this widescreen. This is Jocelyn Keller, as I indicated, the first person to ever use Loom in my classes. Notice that her visual for her persuasive speech is a little bit bigger than the smaller version that you would ordinarily see when you use Loom. So instead of having the technology where you might have a smaller webcam in any corner of the screen, she decided to use a photographic version, which meant that the graphics would be smaller. She's experimenting. It's during the pandemic, so it's certainly okay to experiment. Listen to her presentation on why it is important to not procrastinate. For this presentation, I will leave the closed captioning off.
Hello everyone, my name is Jocelyn Keller, and today I'm presenting my persuasive speech, Why You Should Not Procrastinate. Psychologists say that procrastinators are made by their environment and not born. 95% of the population is prone to procrastination, but that's separate from the 20% of the population that's prone to chronic procrastination. Chronic procrastination can be a disorder only treatable by cognitive behavioral therapy. It's brought on by poor self-regulation. This can be fostered in authoritarian families where the parents overregulate the children, and the children therefore have a poor sense of self-regulation. Doctors identify 3 main types of procrastination and procrastinators, here listed below. 1, the thrill seekers who wait until the last minute to get to the euphoric rush of the stress. Avoiders who are typically concerned with what other people think of them and avoid due to fear of the failure or even success. And lastly, decisional procrastinators who avoid making a choice because they feel as if it alleviates the responsibility of whatever the outcome may be. Studies have found that procrastination also has effects on your health. There's a correlation between procrastination and decreased general health. The effects may include lowered immune system, which means more susceptibility to colds specifically, susceptibility to obesity, gastrointestinal problems, insomnia due to procrastination of sleep, which can even then lead to sleep deprivation, which can lead to heart problems and more obesity, and poor mental and emotional health as well. People who procrastinate can feel ashamed of their procrastination and guilty about it. That can lead to low self-esteem, self-loathing, anxiety, depression, and it just propagates the cycle of procrastination. People who procrastinate also have higher levels of muscle tension, of migraines. They're more prone to do drugs because the poor impulse control and self-regulation go hand in hand with drug abuse. And procrastinators in general have poor health because they oftentimes will procrastinate going to the doctor. Procrastination also has a heavy stress on relationships, whether it be professional relationships like coworkers, team members, or business partners. If you procrastinate your task, they will lose faith in your ability to do the task. You could jeopardize your position, and you could even prevent yourself from ever rising up the ladder again, making you miss opportunities. Peer relationships, which could be students, project partners, extracurricular groups. If you procrastinate the completion of your share of work and lead to the undue stress of all of your teammates, then not only will they be unduly stressed, but then you will too. And that may even ruin a friendship or acquaintanceship. And personal relationships, of course, are highly affected by procrastination. In a relationship, you have to give 100% and 100%. And if you procrastinate your 100%, things might not go well. Avoiding responsibility of a task can cause a burden of undue stress for you and your partner, and because they have to deal with what you don't do. And of course, procrastination leads to poor financial decisions and lots of other financial issues. Procrastination of financial issues can lead to all of the following: delaying investment, which means missed opportunities in capital; financial indiscipline, which is caused by procrastination of budgeting, that can bankrupt you. Procrastinators often have no emergency fund due to never getting around to creating an emergency fund. They oftentimes delay crucial decisions, which means they have to rush to make the decision, which causes poor decisions and causes you to lose capital. They have extra fines and fees for procrastinating on payments and bills, like your taxes, loan payments, bills, and of course, procrastination of estate planning, like having no will, trust, or power of attorney. And lastly, the quality of work is most definitely affected by procrastination. Procrastinators sometimes claim to say that the stress of procrastination causes them to have more of a creative reaction to the work they have to do, but that's simply not true. Any creativity displayed is just a fraction of what could have been achieved had they not procrastinated. Studies show that procrastinators take longer, they make more mistakes, and they believe themselves to be doing better than they actually are at activities. Their work is often unpolished and unedited, and their quality is at times lowered to such a shameful extent that it promotes low self-esteem, which in turn could promote, again, the cycle of procrastination. And in conclusion, that is why I think you should not procrastinate.
So that was the end of Jocelyn's speech. There is a reason why you don't do 14 speeches in my class, whether it's in the summer, whether it's in the fall, whether it's in the spring. I said yesterday, and I said today, you have to build yourself up to it, at least in my class. One major presentation a week. Sometimes, depending upon your style, it may be more brief, 4 to 5 minutes. Sometimes it will be a little bit longer, but procrastination in a public speaking class can really be a problem because primarily it's going to show up in the eye contact or some of the stumbles that you have. So it's really important that you be consistent week by week, setting a schedule that's going to work best for you. That's why you will always know who's going to be speaking on day one, who's going to be speaking on day two, so you can budget your time accordingly. I want you to pay attention to Jocelyn's eye contact. Let's scroll back. The video playback here is really important, especially an honest critique of yourself, but a positive critique. Now, there she is looking at the camera. Most of you have done it a great deal during your life on social media. Work is often polished and unedited. Some of the financial issues, notice her eye contact. She's looking down at the screen and then back up at the webcam. Same thing there with financial issues. Now, right around the 4-minute mark, she's still talking about financial issues. Stress on relationships. She has a very calm demeanor, which means usually she's practiced the speech a couple of times, probably recorded it a couple of times, getting a feel as to what she looks and sounds like. Same thing here. Moving back to health, she has the appearance of a confident, authoritative, knowledgeable speaker. In her case, she feels more comfortable speaking from bullet points. But it's important to note, just because you have all of those bullet points like she has on the screen, does not necessarily mean that you have to mention every last item in great detail. It gives you flexibility in terms of what you want to say, but it also gives you a sense of security to know that for the time limit of 5 to 7 minutes, you're going to have more than enough information to meet the minimum time. And here we are as we go back to the beginning where she is explaining procrastination. And there is her title slide. Now, you should not minimize the importance of the title slide. Why you shouldn't procrastinate: her name, the course, and the term that it's offered. And notice this was the Monday night 510 class that in mid-March we had to move over online because of the pandemic. So it was really helpful that she and others, in addition to YouTube, which we'll get to later on after we've seen the 4 YouTube presentations, it was very helpful that Jocelyn and the others were being very creative in using unique forms of instructional improvement for a public speaking course. That brings us to our second YouTube example of a persuasive speech, the third of the 4 major graded presentations. The person here is someone who was married, divorced, remarried, and she and her husband have a blended family. So this topic is on positive co-parenting. As we did with the first presentation from Jocelyn, notice how Sarah has her speech set up. Fall intercession of 2020 during the month of December. We'll put it on closed captioning to check in terms of the, we need to double check because sometimes the closed captions are not 100%, and we need to make sure that the font style is 100%. In the case of Jocelyn, she had the photographic perspective, so her visual for the webcam took up a big part of the screen. Not that way with Sarah, as opposed to the 2 people that you saw yesterday who were in the bottom left-hand portion of the screen. Sarah has decided to place herself in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, and here's the time. So I'm guessing she's counting down from 5, and this is a persuasive presentation on positive co-parenting.
Hey everybody, my name's Sarah, and today I'm going to talk to you about positive co-parenting. This is something that is very important to me and affects my daily life. Not only am I from a divorced family, but I also have a blended family myself. I had 2 kids with my ex-husband, Lila and Kinsley, and then my now husband, Joey, has a child with his ex-wife, Peyton, and then together we have Harley. So we co-parent on all sides. So this is something that we've had to work on and still work on every day, but I feel like is important to a lot of people today. What is co-parenting? Co-parenting is where 2 or more parents work together to take care of their child in a positive and effective way. This can be done with just mom and dad or with when you get into the more blended families, mom, dad, stepmom, it's just important that we all work together to benefit our kids. Joint custody is what we should all strive for. It's not always the correct answer for every situation, but it is the ideal, what we should strive for. Joint custody is where both parents are equally sharing time in making decisions together. This does avoid the tricky, confusing custody orders that can get so out of hand and hard to keep up with. It eliminates that, and it gives you a more structured, easy to follow setup with your kids. This also shows your kids that what ended their marriage is not bigger than your love for them, because you can still come together in light of your differences and do what is best for them, and not just selfishly what you want, because of course we would all want our kids to ourselves, but that's not always what's best for them. What's best for them is having mom and dad in their lives as much as possible. Next step is happy kids. Positive co-parenting creates happy children. Your kids will be happier knowing that they have mom and dad, or even stepmom and stepdad in their life, and they don't feel like they have to choose one over the other. They say it takes a village to raise children, and that's so true. And the more kids that love your children, the better. So why not everybody love them and just leave it at that? It creates happy parents. Positive co-parenting is where you're going to put your child first, and then you forget the rest of everything else. It's not he said, she said, whatever had to do with your divorce. None of that even matters anymore. And once you realize that, it eliminates so much stress. You get to share the responsibility, and sharing your time can actually be a blessing. When your children are there, since they're not there all the time, it makes that time so much more special. Then when they're not there, then that actually gives you a break, which a lot of parents don't have. So you get that break to, make your eye appointments or doctor's appointments, or have date night with your spouse, because you have that free scheduled time that you can count on, which is so important. And then you'll have that other parent to count on too. Say I got stuck in traffic and my husband's at work, I can call my ex-husband and say, hey, I need you to get our kids because I'm stuck in traffic. And that's something that we're both putting aside our differences, knowing that we can lean on each other as long as it's to take care of our children. It's setting your kids up for success. By positively co-parenting, you are getting to be that positive role model for your child. Taking that stress and conflict out of parenting is going to reassure your child and set them up for success by learning from you. It also teaches them great conflict resolution by watching you and your current spouse or ex-spouse work together to come up with plans and solutions for things, which also teaches them teamwork, which is great traits to have going forward in life. And most importantly of all, it benefits everybody. It benefits you, it benefits your ex, it benefits your children most of all. And that is why this is important to me, because it benefits my beautiful children, who I'm going to show you here. This is from left to right, Peyton, Lila, Harley, and then down here at the bottom we have Kinsley. And this is why this is such important to me, and I hope you learned a little bit today. Thank you.
And by the way, if you listen closely, she's smiling a little bit at the end, Sarah is, because one of the girls says mommy right at the end of the video. I told you that video playback is so critical to being, to me, an effective public speaker, whether we're face-to-face or whether we're online. As we did with our first speaker, Jocelyn, we'll do the same thing with Sarah. Pay close attention as we scroll back to her eye contact. Where is she looking? Now, if we're in a face-to-face classroom, it's a little bit different because we're in an interactive circumstance where you're standing behind a computer and basically doing the same thing. Here, it's more personal, And it can be challenging to try to be expressive whenever you're the only person in the room. But she does a good job of doing so. And you can tell, like me, she's got a ring light so she can be easily seen. She set this up in the upper left-hand corner. So there isn't going to be any problem with the webcam having any issues with bleeding over into any of the graphics. And it's something that all of you need to consider, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Loom, but realistically on Loom. And there she is again being expressive. Her time limit, as you can see, was going, she had it set up on Loom, starting at 5 minutes and working backwards. If you're right around 5 minutes in this class for any of the graded presentations, that's acceptable. Back to the beginning, she has pretty good posture at the webcam, and her eye contact is very consistent. But most importantly, she's fulfilling two of the major elements of being an effective public speaker. She's being extemporaneous and conversational. Are there issues in terms of anyone in any class with grammar, or as I say, the vocalics, the ers, ahs, ums, and uhs, yes, and we'll be talking about those later, the drop Gs, many of those other things. Let's go exactly to the beginning. Look at the timer, and she's got it set up 5 minutes down with the topic set up exactly the way that she wants. So that brings us to the next item on our agenda. Those were two examples via Loom of the third of 4 major presentations that you will put together for this course. For a long time, for more than 20 years at SAU, one of the projects was a group discussion. And about 5 years ago, I decided I wanted to give you more time for individual improvement in terms of content and delivery and visuals. In all of my classes, whether they are mass communication or mass media, I always have some type of a wild card project. Many of you, I'm certain, in high school or in college have studied like crazy for a class or for an exam, only to realize that some of the documentation never was used. And I decided in all of my classes, I wanted to include some type of a wild card project, because oftentimes there's a lot of information that we as students or faculty examine, but don't necessarily test anyone on or give papers on. So the final presentation is totally up to you. It's a wild card. Let's go back to Blackboard in the student preview mode. And here is the wild card speech. What would you like to talk about? Using the same type of formal approach that you've been using for demonstrative, informative, and persuasive speeches. It can literally be anything that you want, as long as you're not necessarily going back and going over old ground. A lot of really interesting wildcard presentations. They could be a demonstrative-based presentation, or informative or persuasive. It could be a combination of all of them, but something that you would really like to discuss to wrap up the semester on a high note. And with that in mind, always realize that many of us have different interests. I want to show you 2 different presentations that are wildcard speeches on Loom. So now let's go back to YouTube, and you're going to run into a young man who was very interested in computers. And as you can see, the title of his wildcard speech from the fall semester of 2020 is Motherboards and Big Hands. The times for all of the presentations, as you can see, and these are just representative samples on my YouTube channel. I've got tons of them all over the place. But the person who's giving this speech is Merrick. Motherboards and Big Hands, wildcard speech, with closed captioning on to see, because this is his last speech of the semester. Is he improving with speaking in complete sentences? Here we go.
Hi there, my name is Merrick Barrett, and this is my wildcard presentation on motherboards and big hands. So a little bit of backstory going into this. Over about 2 weeks ago, my main computer that I use for both school as well as my job gave up the ghost, and I needed to replace it. So, went on the internet, just going to buy a computer, connect it to old stuff, call it a day. But my frugal nature would not allow that, and I didn't quite realize my mistake until the delivery man was handing me my box of computer parts, and I went, oh right, this is going to be unfun. My career is actually in IT. I have messed around with electronics since I've been a kid. I built my own computer when I was young. I'm no stranger to the business, but I keep forgetting every time that I have to build my own computer about how much I actually don't like building my own computer. So first I'll give you a little bit of an idea on what the motherboard is, kind of what it consists of and everything, and then we'll go into the meat of the issue. So first up, we have the CPU bracket. This particular bracket is an Intel design. There's another manufacturer who makes CPUs. They're called AMD. They're effectively the same at the end of the day, probably. It's just how they look. So you have to have separate parts to match the correct parts, that type of deal. The CPUs are held in by this retention system. On the left, it's fully closed. On the middle one, the bracket is slightly raised. You can see how the fangs at the bottom that hold onto the clamp are let off, and on the right, it's completely undone. You actually have to put a lot of pressure on these rods to get it to fully lock into place and unlock. So what you got to do is you have to line up the golden triangles, which you can see pretty easily on the right picture at the bottom left of the CPU there, with the triangle of whatever motherboard you use. A lot of manufacturers put their own golden triangle, they'll put silver ones. This particular one uses the silver one, some use white ones. Usually they make it pretty obvious you're saying, hey, this is the correct orientation, please don't put your CPU in backwards or sideways. I've heard of stories of people who accidentally do it and they force that retention arm down, and it requires a lot of force, so you don't notice that it's requiring more force than usual, that type of deal. It's not a good scene. You always want to make sure it's the right orientation base. The next up is we have RAM. It's effectively these little circuit boards right here that have notches, there we go, in them that you need to line up correctly. When I first started building, I was maybe, I think 14 if I remember right, and I was so dainty and careful with every single piece as I was doing it, because I didn't want to snap anything. I thought, you know, I'm effectively working with incredibly expensive Legos. You know, yeah, it all goes together in place, but I don't want to be too hard on it. But you have to put a lot of force, kind of like the CPU. You have to put a lot of force, so much so that you'll hear an audible snapping sound whenever you have it incorrectly. The little retention rods or arms rather will close and lock in, and they have a snap to them. It was a spooky process, and I have a little video here that'll play. Yeah. They make an audible pop sound. And that's basically letting you know, hey, I'm in tight and snug. Thanks. The very first time I did it, I didn't push it hard enough. And my computer wouldn't boot. And I thought, oh, what did I do to break it? And as it turns out, I just didn't push the RAM hard enough. So that's one of the big things. Oh. There we go. Sorry. So next up, you need to put some thermal paste on your CPU. CPUs can get really, really hot, upwards in the range of like about 80 degrees Celsius. They get real hot, so they need something to help cool them down. In this particular case on the right, there's the cooler that is then placed and clamped on top. The amount of thermal paste is debated by many. However, the idea is that you want about 1 cooked-ish, maybe 2, grains of rice. That's about how much you want. I go for the, that's about a rice-ish on mine, and then try to get it off the little stick so that way it doesn't drip everywhere, because thermal paste doesn't get off your body very easily. Once it's on there, you don't need to do any spreading. The cooler itself will actually do almost all the spreading for you because it'll be pushing it down and then it'll be applying force, whatever its bracket system is, which will spread it evenly for you. So you don't even need to do the hard part, really. So there it is, completely built. We've got our RAM sticks in. We've got our CPU in. There's an M.2 there, but that's neither nor there. But there you go. The hard part is done, effectively, at this point. Which now leads me to the one that I built over the weekend. This is the one I did for myself personally. And it kind of looks the same. There's extra parts there. There's a graphics card there and a power supply unit. But, you'd have to apply those to almost anything. Well, sans the graphics card. The cooler's bigger here. But, effectively, at this point, it's all plug and play. I'm just putting it into the case, tightening it down to the case, putting the power supply, all the connectors to where they need to go, and we're good to go, right? Wrong. I've got these huge bear paws. So getting to the top left motherboard connector, the CPU connector, is the worst. It is terrible because it is such a small, cramped space. I can't see effectively, and I can't undo this cooler that I have because the mounting hardware is underneath everything. So I have to have it all done effectively beforehand, and then I have to do it. It is it's a massive pain. It is frustrating how much I don't like it because this is literally my job. But we make do. We bear it up, right? The fan also had a very similar design where I had to remove the fan and I had to tighten it down. It was a pain. I can't express that enough. And that is where the idea where technology is getting smaller and smaller and smaller with my hands that don't seem to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's been a hassle. But it works first time. Very, very thankful. And I'm rendering it actually on it right now. So anyways, thank you. Have a wonderful night and have an even better rest of the week.
Usually
Hi there.
Usually, I'm pretty good at judging the end of the speech. Let's try that one more time.
But it works first time. Very, very thankful. And I'm rendering it actually on it right now. So anyways, thank you. Have a wonderful night and have...
What Mark did, he cut off his speech a little bit too soon. Usually you'll say thank you, 1001, 1002, and then pause. This is the final presentation of the term. Ideally, it is going to be not only your best speech overall, but it's going to show me that you feel relatively comfortable speaking to your peers while still being well-researched, thoughtful, getting a lot of the challenges with grammar, drop G's, ers, and ums out of your vocabulary during the class. And for the most part, Mark does a nice job. Now, there would be two pieces of constructive criticism I would give him. One, he needs to make sure that he uses a ring light so we can see him more clearly. The second thing is get a little bit closer to your webcam because on occasion, his voice drops down a little bit, but I don't want to bump up the audio too much during a class period because oftentimes I'll get a little bit of reverb whenever we are watching the videos back. But Mark is an excellent public speaker, and I also like the fact that he is visually oriented here. You can tell that his wild card is to a great degree demonstrative, which is acceptable, but the visuals are such where we can identify with the process, and he also plays that video clip twice so we can actually hear the piece snap into place. Let's check out to see whether or not we can hear it again.
Yeah. They make an audible pop sound.
Now we'll just continue to move back. Mark decided to be in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. For the most part, he is looking at the camera because he knows this topic so well, going through the process of putting the motherboard together, going from back to front. The tight visuals are so helpful because we can identify with the process. And the fact that he's got a self-deprecating sense of humor, where at the end of the speech, he holds up his hands and says he's got big ones, is humorous. And that is the beginning of his speech, looking at the camera for the presentation. So that brings us to the fourth and final YouTube presentation that we are going to watch. We've seen two persuasive speeches on YouTube that were produced on Loom and posted to my YouTube channel. But now let's play one more. This is from the first summer session of 2021, something that you can all identify with because many of you are going to be devotees of TikTok. And the presentation is all the way at the bottom, the title of which is Creating TikTok Videos. From this class, exactly 1 year ago, next week. And this is Essence, Summer 1, 2021. Last year it was from 1 to 3. This year it is from 12 to 2. We will leave the closed captioning off, and this is Creating TikTok Videos, her wild card speech.
Hello everyone, my name is Essence, and today I will be teaching you how to make the perfect TikTok video. TikTok is a family-friendly app. It's a part of social media where everyone can express themselves in different ways through dance, comedy, education, and you can make a video of 15 seconds to 3 minutes. The first step of TikTok is the dancing. A way to fit in on TikTok is that there's a lot of different dances. So what you want to do, you save a dance that you want to learn. And once you save the dance, you want to put it in slow-mo so you can learn the steps and you can eventually make your own video. A cool effect on TikTok that lots of us use is the slow-mo walk effect. And it's when you place your feet together and you move your hips in an outward direction, and it makes you look like you're gliding on air. As seen in this video, you can see that's how it is. So what you want to do is place your feet together and you will twist, just how she's doing. And then the end effect will eventually look like this. The next, and this is my final result. As you can see, I did the effect and we added a little smoke effect, which that can be used as optional. The next step of making a perfect TikTok is the transitions. This video is going to show you how I did the easiest transition. As you can see, I picked a song. And once you turn your head to the side, you start recording from that perspective. And as you can see, I just turned my head back the other way. And this is the final result. And that's how you do an easy transition. Here's an example of one of the harder transitions that I like to explore. As you can see, I'm in the car. And this effect shows your phone falling and the phone coming back up and you're in a different outfit. Or this one, where you go over your head. That's one of my favorites. One of the other things we'll talk about is the visual and the filters. You want to make sure that you have a fun, clear background, something that's not too distracting. As you can see in this picture, this is Reppert. He's very famous on TikTok, and he has his background of Hawaii. which is where he lives. And did you know that TikTok is available in 155 countries, and it's also available in 75 different languages? So as you can see, TikTok is very famous. The last thing is the captions. Wherever you are, whatever your video contains, that's what you want to base your caption on. So for example, if I'm at the beach and I have a video of me doing a dancing video on the beach, I would entitle it Sunny Days and Beach Waves, or something to that effect. Or if you're doing a sport, you want to give maybe even a basketball lyric from a song, and you want to make sure that it catches the eye of people who will view your video. So once you have your transitions, you have your dance, even the slow-mo walk, and you've played with the filters or the effect. And one effect that's very popular is the zoom in effect, because the zoom in effect makes sure it's more cleaner, and it makes your posture look bigger, like straighter. So the zoom in effect is one of my favorites. And they also have the different effects you can put on your face. You can make your eyes different color. You can even, there's even a slow-mo where you can make your dance and you can just put it in slow-mo, or you can repeat it. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. And thank you all for watching. And here's a short video of how we have fun with TikTok. As you can see, she did multiple of them. Thank you all for watching.
And I got it with 1 second to spare. What I appreciate, especially for the wild card speeches, is you've done something demonstrative, you've done something informative, you've done something persuasive, 3 elements of public speaking that are going to come in so handy during your lives, in addition to being extemporaneous and conversational, quality eye contact, having a dignified persona, someone who comes across as being very poised. But for the wild card, if you want to do something that is a little bit demonstrative or a little bit informative or a combination like what you saw with motherboards and big hands a moment ago from Merrick, same thing with Essence. In the same way that you saw Merrick show off his personality in a positive way, same thing with the quality in terms of the improvement of the public speaking skills and the likability and knowledgeability of Essence whenever she is discussing creating TikTok videos, because not everyone is going to know how to do it. And showing all of those examples is really helpful, because when you're putting it together, oftentimes the best quality projects don't always necessarily feel like research where you're enjoying them. And in the case of Essence, she knows that she is a positive influence on camera. She's very confident. And by the way, I left it on this graphic for the time being because in addition to using any type of a template with Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides or Canva, there are different websites that you can go to find unique slides or font styles for your presentations. And a number of people, like Essence here, are using Slides Go. And I'll be talking about that during the next week. Let's go ahead, as with everyone else, and scroll from back to front. In this case, Essence, like what you saw with Sarah for positive co-parenting, she is using the reverse 5-minute countdown on Loom because she felt that 5 minutes was more than enough to get her ideas across. And interactivity can be a big part of the speech. You just work it in so it is seamless. It is creative. Some people will use more interactivity and some will use less. Perfect example of her, look at her eye contact. She's thinking about what she wants to say, and then she will return. And let me go ahead and mute. Let's play this in real time. Watch her eyes. She's thinking about what she wants to say, and then she will return her view to the webcam. She looked a little bit off to her left, and then there she is, continuing on with her comments. And then Back to the beginning. There's the eye contact. There we go. And there's the beginning of her presentation on TikTok. Demonstrative, informative, persuasive, wild card. 20 points each. That is comprising 80 out of the 100 points you can earn from the course. Well, what about the rest? Returning to Blackboard in the student preview mode, you've got the self-evaluation speech critique, which is worth 10 points, and that will be due on the last day of class, and you will send it right here to my Yahoo email address. Quote, a realistic appraisal of personal improvement during the course, content, delivery, visuals. And keep in mind, guys, that the class participation score is an individual effort to forward trenchant analyses of course issues and assist peers with constructive criticism of assignments. In an online course, that means watching the videos on a regular basis. Sometimes you'll skim through them, depending upon where you are during the week. Sometimes you'll watch them in totality, but so many of our class sessions, as you're well aware, will consist of watching students and their final products from previous versions of this class, primarily from the last 3 years. But what about self-evaluation speech critiques? And we'll come back to me for just a moment. A self-evaluation speech critique does not have to be fantastically long, but I do want you to be honest. And I'm going to show you 4 examples from the last time I taught this class online, the first summer session of 2021. And one of the 4 people that I am going to show your materials to is from Essence. As you're well aware, I keep everything. We've got 4 examples. This is a listing, as you can see, with the dates on the right-hand side. These are all from roughly about a year ago. Everyone who took the class online, all of the presentations are still here, or links to them. But let's do Dorian first. Now, this is 1 year ago. This is her self-evaluation speech critique. Sometimes they will be sent to me as emails. Sometimes they are going to be sent to me in Word documents. Now, let me see what you see so it is clearly readable. Here's what Dorian had to write. It doesn't have to be fantastically long, guys. Quote, prior to taking this public speaking class, I was very shy and didn't like to talk in the camera at all. I don't like cameras unless I'm taking a picture with one. Through this class, I begin to practice on looking directly in the camera and talking into it. I begin to develop confidence in myself. I am definitely more comfortable in speaking to the camera. I have a more expressive conversational tone and great extemporaneous delivery when giving a speech. My speech intros and conclusions are improving. The way I organize all of my content has improved too. I'm glad I took your class because it made me a better person and that I can do anything. So that was from Dorian. Now let's take a look at Allison. Notice she's got her set up as a traditional email message. Quote, Professor Reppert, I believe that I have improved greatly this summer session in my public speaking ability. I have never been good at public speaking because I get very anxious in front of a crowd. I was in public speaking class this last spring semester, high school, but I had to drop out because I would get too anxious before class. I may have spoken too soon. Even though speaking into a microphone is not as intimidating as speaking to a public crowd, I believe that taking this class has increased my confidence and ability to speak clearly and loudly about a subject that I care about. Public speaking is a very important skill to possess, and I believe that taking this class has assisted me greatly. Thank you, Allison. Now let's get to a third critique, and this is from Essence, the person that we just saw with the wildcard presentation on creating TikTok videos. Quote, Professor Reppert, before beginning this course, I was beyond excited about being a part of the class doing what I do best, which is speaking. Throughout this course, I feel I remained confident and smooth throughout my speaking. I could have improved on many unnecessary ums or so's, but I am beyond grateful for your teachings and advice. This class has truly prepared me for my occupation, which is counseling, and I will be able to communicate with others fluently. I also want to apologize for not answering your question because my computer had a little glitch, but I will be attending Southern Arkansas University in the fall. I look forward to working with you in the future. So that is 3 out of the 4 from 1 year ago that we'll look at. Here is the final one. We have to move down a little bit. This is Sierra. Quote, Mr. Reppert, overall, I think I've definitely shown signs of improvement. Prior to taking this class, talking in front of a camera was definitely one of my major communication weaknesses. I'm definitely a lot more comfortable in front of the camera now than I was before. I also have more tools for creating an engaging intro. I used to approach speech intros with a one-size-fits-all mentality, but hearing a variety of other speeches has shown me the effects of a specifically tailored introduction. I'm definitely going to use my experience in this class to work more on my communication and speech delivery skills. Being in this class has encouraged me to cultivate more of a presence with my vocabulary, volume, speed at which I speak, and attentiveness. I know with certainty that I need to practice on my smoothness. I've still got to work to do where I want to be, but I'm more than satisfied with the progress I've made. Sierra Putney. And we will see some of Sierra's presentations as well as others from any of these courses. What you're looking at, this is first summer session of 2021. We eventually get down into the fall intercession of 2020, the spring of 2021, summer of 2021, fall intercession of 2020, like I said, with the month of December, fall of 2020, literally going back years. So the bottom line behind all of this is I try to save as much information as possible for your overall improvement. A couple of other bits of interactivity. As I'd indicated, I don't know exactly who's going to be in the course because I do not have an official roster, but let me show you what a day 1, day 2 circumstance is going to look like. It's available on my website, but let me show you what the course speech schedule looked like last summer. Demonstrative, day 1, demonstrative, day 2, followed by the other presentations. Depending upon how many people are in this course, and officially at class time today, there were 14, which would mean that alphabetically, the first 7 persons on the roster would always speak on day 1, which next week is a Thursday. The other 3 weeks would be a Wednesday. Day 2 would be Friday demonstrative this year, like last, and then the other presentations would be on Thursday. And then the other part of this, which I will show is, quote, keep me appraised on a regular basis so I may be of assistance during your respective speech preparation processes. Thanks. And that's what it's going to look like eventually. Now there's one more bit of interactivity that I wish to share. This is also available at my website at SPCH 1113. Examples of presentations from the spring 2020 semester when we had to leave early due to the pandemic. These are all presentations that look different because they were produced as YouTube videos, not with the element of loom. And before we leave class today, I want to show you one of these presentations, because you may not necessarily have access to loom, but maybe you're doing something as this person did in the living room of her home with the computer hooked up to a widescreen TV. You're going to look at someone who just graduated with her degree in mass communication. This is Mackenzie Turner. I already have closed captioning on. I've got the audio bumped up all the way. She is delivering this from her home in Texas, is recording it to YouTube, posting it to her YouTube channel. Some of you may not use loom. Some of you may do it just like this. And in that circumstance, here's what it's going to look like. Our final presentation of the day is persuasive, recorded on YouTube on someone's cell phone.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Turner, and I'll be doing my persuasive presentation on why great white sharks are the deadliest animals in the ocean. The animal itself. The great white shark is the largest predatory fish on Earth. They can grow up to 20 feet in length and weigh up to 2.5 tons. Their color is a slate gray on top to blend in with ocean floor, and a white belly, which is where they get their name. They move slow but can reach speeds up to 15 miles per hour and completely propel themselves out of the water. As you can see from this picture, the shark has completely jumped out of the water, which is a pretty hard task for such a heavy and large fish. And you can see that slate gray color on the top and that white belly on the bottom. The locations where these sharks are found. The great white shark is found in oceans across the world. The Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and Arctic oceans make up the large global ocean that covers approximately 71% of this planet. That's pretty crazy, because that means that these great white sharks could be found anywhere on 71% of the planet. Only about 5% of these waters have been explored by humans due to the fact that its depth can reach up to 7 miles to the seafloor. And over here you'll see an image where it shows those 7 miles and what we can find in them. And the great white sharks are usually found around right here, unless they're going to hunt, and then they'll move up to the surface area. The competitors for the title of most dangerous animal. The competitors of the deadliest are a broad group, as some are deadly for multiple different reasons. The saltwater crocodile has the strongest bite in the sea. The bull shark has the strongest bite out of all the sharks. The blue whale is the largest and strongest animal in the ocean. And the tiger shark will eat anything in its path. So how does this compare to the great white shark? Obviously, the saltwater crocodile having the strongest bite is a big deal, but you don't see them biting anything other than what they eat. And they don't eat anything other than fish or small birds that rest around their eggs. The bull shark has the strongest bite out of all the sharks, but they're much smaller than the great white shark. They're aggressive, but not known to attack humans as much, or really eat anything bigger than themselves. The blue whale is obviously the largest, so that's going to be something pretty scary. But they're not going to hurt anything. It's a whale. They're just going to eat shrimp and stuff like that. And then the tiger shark will eat anything in its path. Obviously, this is a very dangerous animal, but they're not as known to attack humans, which makes it the most deadly animal for us. Why the great white shark deserves this title? The great white shark is the most dangerous ocean animal to humans. Their mouths house around 300 teeth in multiple rows. As you can see, these giant front teeth, there's multiple rows behind them, and as soon as one falls out, another one pops in its place, so they never run out. In 2019, there were 140 reported attacks. 64 of them were unprovoked. So what this means is that out of these 140 attacks, 64 of them, the person was just sitting there, was just sitting on their surfboard, was just swimming in the water, did absolutely nothing to the shark, and the shark still attacked them. Their attacks on humans are not a feeding frenzy, but a simple mistake. So what this means is that the shark simply mistakes us for a seal or a sea turtle or another big fish that they're just trying to get their mouths on, and they just come up and bite us and try to take us home for dinner. The ultimate predator. Great white sharks can sense blood from miles away and use its nostrils to tell direction. Picture an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and you have a little dropper, and you drop one drop of blood in it. The shark will immediately know when that drop of blood is in that huge swimming pool. And then using their nostrils to tell direction, whichever nostril they smell the blood from, whether it's the left or the right, that's the direction they know that they need to head in to go find what it is that's bleeding. These sharks will stalk their prey to watch for an attack. This is something very different than their competitors. A great white shark will swim underneath its prey and watch for a little bit just to know when to go in and when is the best time to attack. Great white sharks attack from beneath, and they use an ambush technique to attack their prey. So this means that they'll swim deep and then come up from the bottom, and pretty much their prey has no idea that they're coming, and the ambush technique plunges them out of the water. They take a big bite and then see if they need to come back in to finish their prey off, or if they'll just die on their own, and then the great white shark can just take them on. So this is a video of how a shark attacks a seal. I'm not going to show you a human, it's a little much, but this shows you that ambush technique.
The shark relies on surprise.
And like you saw from that video, the shark completely propelled itself out of the water and took its prey with it, and that's how they get that surprise attack from underneath. And that, along with many of the reasons I stated, are why the great white shark is the most dangerous animal in the ocean. Thank you for watching.
And that was the end of her presentation. Again, be very careful. When you're done with the presentation, pause for a couple of seconds before you stop either Loom or YouTube, because she's still in the middle of wrapping up her speech, but I didn't want it to recycle like you saw before. Mackenzie took a number of my courses, obviously, because as a mass communication major, she's going to take all of the mass media courses and the basic and advanced public speaking courses, which she took from me. So she's a very skilled communicator. She was a member of the golf team. And what I really appreciate is the thoughtfulness and research that she put into this. And as you get to the end of the semester, you will be able to come across in a more confident, thoughtful, knowledgeable, authoritative manner. And as you've seen with everyone else, going from back to front with any of these visuals, maybe you don't have the opportunity to use Loom and you feel more comfortable doing something like this. That's certainly acceptable, but again, you'll want to make certain that whatever graphics are available, that they are easily seen by the audience. And she told me that she had practiced this 3 or 4 times before uploading it to her YouTube channel. Perfect example of what I'm talking about. She is angled slightly toward the video screen. Right off camera, you can see the cable running behind her is the laptop, and she's going back and forth with the graphics, but she is expressing herself in a confident manner. The eye contact, the body language is very poised. Same thing there, using a combination of the graphics and the text to remain extemporaneous. Don't be afraid to look directly at the screen. And there she's talking about the animal and being very expressive. And there's the beginning of her presentation, speaking for the most part in complete sentences. So from that list that you saw, the names are going to be to their YouTube channels for people 2.5 years ago who are using that format instead of Loom. Before we conclude the proceedings today, I want to go through 2 different items. First, what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, and second, how you'll be able to access different types of videos for this class, especially at the end of today. Tomorrow, we're going to be discussing effective content, delivery, and visuals. We'll be looking at more demonstrative, informative, persuasive, and wildcard videos of speeches over the past 2 to 3 years that fall into those categories, in addition to looking at different types of outlines that are available on my website. We'll also be doing that on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. A reminder that the tools section of the syllabus at Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, with the 3 vertical lines under recordings, in relatively short order, course requirements part 2 will be available for you to watch. And I want to make certain that everyone has access to these videos, because looking at them and going to Blackboard is going to be part of, as you can see under tools, it's going to be part of your class participation grade. 20 for each of the speeches, 10 for the self-evaluation critique, and 10 for class participation, add up to 100 points for the course. As we conclude today, which is now session 2 out of 19, keep in mind that time management, as you know from the syllabus, is essential to your success. And isn't it ironic, and I didn't plan it that way, that the speech from Jocelyn Keller during spring 2020, during the pandemic, on Loom, dealing with procrastination, was one of the presentations that we looked at today. So even though our graded presentations don't start until 1 week from tomorrow, day 1 demonstrative Thursday of next week, day 2 demonstrative will be on Friday, start thinking about how to go to my YouTube channel, go to my website, and we'll be doing this tomorrow and Monday as well, in terms of research, topic selection, what you feel comfortable talking about. And I'll also go back, as I did yesterday, to Loom, just in case you want to get a free subscription so you can utilize what some of the others have done. We will continue with content, delivery, and visuals for tomorrow's class session. So good luck in your respective speech preparation processes over the next 8 days as we start to work on demonstrative speeches. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, during the first summer session of 2022, that concludes the recording session for today.